So again, I'm Pagan. I'm a talent acquisition manager here at Evolution. So obviously we're here to talk to you today about the different options for when you all graduate that I suppose you probably don't even know about. So me and Luke are going to be talking to you about just that. So to give you a little bit of an overview about us first, we are a recruitment business. Okay. So what is recruitment? So the way I usually like to describe recruitment to people is we are essentially the middle person in between a company that is looking to hire. So we call them our clients, and the people who are looking for jobs. They're our candidates. Our job is to essentially identify the needs of both our clients and our candidates and match make the two. So with us being a tech recruitment business, we focus on placing top IT professionals into roles with our clients. Now, a little bit about us as a business. As I mentioned, we're a tech recruitment business, so all our roles are IT and tech focused. Now, you don't have to have any prior experience in IT and tech. Just as a side note, most people don't. Neither did Luke.
Definitely not.
Yeah, but they're the kind of roles that we focus on recruiting for. Head office is in Birchwood in Warrington, but we also have overseas offices in Australia, Singapore, Germany as well. And earlier this year, actually, we've opened up our first USA international office in North Carolina, which is really exciting. And with that comes opportunities to work abroad as well. So we've had a couple of people move over to our Sydney office in Australia, and a couple of people on secondments as well to our USA office, which is again really exciting. We recruit for a lot of different industries and businesses. So we've got teams that focus entirely on the NHS with clients such as Alder Hey Children's Hospital, where our consultants were like instrumental in helping digitize the NHS in response to the COVID-19 pandemic as well. And we have a gaming team as well with clients like EA, DICE, and King, where our consultants have helped headhunt game developers for games like Battlefield and Crash Bandicoot for any of you gamers out there as well. And Luke's team specifically, they work across the Southwest region, and Luke specialises in all things data science, which I'll leave him to talk about later on as well. But that's kind of a bit of an overview about us, just to put it into context for you. And I suppose it's kind of an overview of why recruitment is a great career option for graduates. So kind of broken it down into three main points for you guys. So firstly, earning potential. You do get a basic salary, but also uncapped commission on top of that. So again, I'm sure Luke will touch on this, but average consultants in their first year, to conservatively say, earn anywhere between 30 to 40,000. Second year, expect anywhere between 40 to 50. Third year, 50 to 60. By the fourth year, usually people will be earning anywhere between 60 to 100 grand. So 6 figures in 4 years. not too bad, to say the least. Secondly, development is a big one. So we invest in all the people who join the business. Out of our 7 teams that we have in our UK office, 5 of them are led by people who started their career with us as trainees as well. So, speaks for itself. Like, the people who stay with us grow with us, and we're always looking to invest in new training and development opportunities. And recently invested in Franklin Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People, which is completely free training that can be applied to both work and home life as well, and available to everyone that joins us and rolled out to the whole business. And thirdly, is, I suppose, the rewards that you get for the hard work that you put in, and the culture's amazing too. I suppose just this year, again, Luke probably touch on the trips he's been on, but we've flown people to Palma, Prague, and Mexico. But we have 1 global trip a year, 2 European trips, and 2 UK based activities as well, which is, again, like really, really exciting. So I suppose I'll hand over to Luke to tell you a little bit more about him and the skills he's learned from his degree, really.
Yeah, thanks, Pagan. So my name's Luke Vickers, as you can obviously see there. I am a data science and engineering recruitment consultant, and I knew absolutely nothing about recruitment or data science and engineering before I started here, but it absolutely doesn't impact you being successful within the industry because all of the support's there for you. I did sport development and physical education in 2012 until 2015. And while I've had a bit of a staged career to get into recruitment, I would have loved for it to have been straight out of uni, to be fair, because I'd be miles ahead of where I currently am. If you go on to the next page, please.
Yeah.
Pagan. Thank you. So kind of before I officially graduated from uni, I wanted to be a PE teacher. It seemed like the most natural progression from the course to go into teaching, kind of put into practice the skills that I'd been learning. And it was always kind of the thing I wanted to get into most, because my PE teacher when I was in school was my main motivator because he was brilliant. I was teaching in a school. I think some of you or all of you might have to do it in your third year, to where you spend a period of time going into a local school and teaching. And I was applying for my PGC at the same time, but unfortunately the school that I was in didn't submit a reference for me because they were so understaffed, hence wanted to have people from unis to help them. And I pretty quickly realized that I needed something to fall back on. So I started applying for jobs both back home and in Liverpool whilst I was in uni, and tried to get ahead of the game. So I started applying around the March, April time, knowing that I'd probably finish uni around May, June and be able to go into full-time work. I needed a fallback just in case I didn't get on the PGC course or anything went wrong. And it's quite common, and I would probably encourage people to start applying for jobs around April, May, because in working life away from uni, notice periods are very, very common. So I just made them aware that I couldn't start until June or July, until I'd actually finished and graduated from my degree. And it was completely normal for them. So if anyone thinks, oh, I'll just wait until I graduate and start planning and applying for roles, try and reach out a little bit earlier. And I didn't want to finish uni and then just fall into like the factory job that I used to go home and do in the summer because I needed money to get me through the year. I felt like if I had a degree, I wanted to do something professional. So I fell into a banking job in Nationwide Building Society, and it was a great step for me because it made me feel like a professional straight out of uni. And then I moved from back in a small town in mid Wales to Liverpool and started working for Enterprise Rent a Car. Both companies were great. They taught me loads of like transferable skills. They taught me how to plan a day, how to speak to people, how to sell within a role. But there was pretty obvious that there was always going to be like an earnings cap there and a ceiling that I just couldn't break for unless like people moved away or I was willing to move to a different location. So I was always kind of limited in what I could earn. And the main motivation coming out of uni after having absolutely no money was to earn as much money as I possibly could. And I always set myself in uni the target of achieving 30k by 30 years old, because it seemed like quite a natural progression of a teaching role to be probably a little bit over that, but it was always like a little milestone that I wanted to hit. And recruitment absolutely far eclipses that earning potential. Like Pagan said before, your 30 to 40k first year earning potential is pretty realistic, to be fair, but I know a massive number of people that have earned well over that in their first year. So that 30k by 30 now seems like a far distant memory, and it's great to be achieving over that. I still have to work really hard to make sure I do it consistently, but you kind of readjust your targets when you work in recruitment because the earning potential is just so much greater to pretty much any other industry I know that you can work in. Thanks, Pagan. So before I worked in recruitment, what I knew about it was pretty little, to be fair. I didn't know much at all. I knew the stereotype of you always hear people in recruitment made a lot of money, but I didn't really understand like to what level these earnings could be. And they always just seem to be the people that would message and phone you when you can be bothered to answer and ask you to apply for jobs. And I feel like that probably is your stereotypical view of recruitment outside as well. And before I started, my understanding was really low. So I thought recruitment meant that people would just phone you and ask you to work for the company that they work within. And that very much is Pagan's role as an internal talent acquisition manager, but my role isn't that whatsoever. So I call people and try and recruit them for companies that I'm working with externally from where I work. So based on if they're a good match for the companies that I'm working with, based on what they tell me they're looking for, instead of trying to pull someone into the company that I specifically work for. And before I joined, I was always very much pushed down the don't apply for a recruitment position because it's not as good as it seems. They just say it's great, and it isn't actually as good as everybody thinks. And that was pretty much because the companies that I worked for always knew that recruitment could offer me far higher earnings potential that they could offer me alongside a completely different lifestyle as well, which is still very professional, but still very different in terms of like a lot of other industries. And I'm sure Pagan can vouch for that as well, in terms of you can divide your time between working from home and working from the office. You're very in control of your day, and it's, for me personally, like completely different to other industries, and I would strongly advise it against pretty much everything else.
Next slide, Luke. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. So just to go into a little bit around sport and recruitment. So recruitment to me feels really similar to being in a sporting environment. So I've played in team sports and individual sports since I was like 8 or 9, and you get very used to the people around you. They're all like very similar. They're all quite competitive, and coming into recruitment, everyone is very much exactly the same way. So culturally, it didn't feel like a transition away from what was normal to me whatsoever. And I think that's probably consistent across the whole recruitment industry. I think in sports, you learn a lot of people skills because you're always around others, and that's perfectly transferable into this. You're always speaking to people within your teams. Within recruitment, you're always speaking to new companies, and you're always speaking to new people. So it felt like a completely normal transition into recruitment from what I've been used to within a sporting environment for the whole time. Like my Southwest team, and it's probably consistent across Evolution as a company, but it doesn't feel like work when I come in. The whole day I'm literally just having a laugh with people that are very similar to me, very like-minded. They're all pulling in the same direction, and whilst they all work hard, if you can take that that feeling of work away from work, then it just becomes completely second nature and an entirely enjoyable experience. And it's very healthily competitive, which is massive for me. I'm a very, very competitive person. I don't think you can be that good at sport unless you've got that competitive edge. And there's always tables, emails, competitions going around within the workplace that, whether you want to compete to not be the worst or whether you want to compete to the best, there's always that level of healthy competition for me, to where if you focus on your small goals and you're competitive against yourself, or whether it's just wanting to beat your mate, you're always rewarded with very generous pay packets and a very good working lifestyle as well. And it's also very supportive at the same time. So although you always want to earn as much as you can for yourself, then as long as you always want to earn as much as you can for yourself, your team, if they do well, you do well. So for example, my team all cover the Southwest Division, but we cover different technical patches. So if Ollie Stockford, one of my colleagues, gets into a company, it's very likely that they'll have a job for me as well as him, and it's vice versa as well. So you're always pulling in the same direction, and obviously the more money you earn, the more money other people earn, and vice versa as well.
Next slide, Luke. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. So I'm absolutely nothing special within this recruitment role at Evolution. I think I'm fairly good at it, but there's a high number of people that are better than me at it. But I've been lucky enough to get 4 promotions within 20 months. And that's purely down to the fact that it's so clearly laid out for you. So it's financial target based. So as long as you're doing what you need to do by a specific point, you don't have to wait for anybody else to get promoted. It's very much just Once I've done it, I get promoted to the next level. And the biggest thing about evolution is you don't have to wait for promotions. So in previous companies and other industries, you usually have to wait for a person above you to move to a different role or move to a different company before you can apply for a promotion within there, from within that organization. Here, it's once you've hit your goal, you get promoted, and obviously with that, you get a pay rise with each promotion that you receive, and you receive a commission restructuring after certain ones as well, to where you'll get paid specific commissions when you start, and then as you progress, you get paid a higher commission on top of a higher salary as well. So the financial targets you can hit very quickly are really easy to achieve. And I was also lucky enough to win Trainee Biller of the Year last year. So again, I'm absolutely nothing special, but I'm just a very competitive person. So it's very clearly laid out in terms of, like, you have a Trainee of the Year board, you have a regular Biller of the Year board, you have a different division, so a contracts division Biller of the Year, and it's just extremely motivating for me to know where I'm up to, who I need to be, what I need to potentially achieve to achieve things like Trainee of the Year, to achieve things like certain financial targets that I want to earn. And then obviously with that, you get holidays such as Mexico, Palma, Tenerife, Prague. We've been zip lining in, I think it's Llandudno, is it, Pagan? Did you go on that?
Yeah, no, North Wales. I missed out on that one, but you went, didn't you?
Yeah, it's very good. Pretty scary, to be fair, but it's still enjoyable. But things like that are going on constantly. So monthly, quarterly, it feels like every time you look at an email, there's just constantly something to work towards, to where, and I'll be honest, these things are dead expensive. Like, I wouldn't pay for these things myself. It's like a free trip to Mexico, a free trip to Palma, Prague. It just seems a little bit silly not to work really hard to it. And if you're competitive and we're in it within a sport environment, I think you probably like that anyway, alongside like monthly nights out with your team as well. And the best thing I'd say about recruitment is the earnings potential are incredible, like genuinely crazy. There's people here that earn 10k, 20k, 30k a month regularly, and doing that, you always think it's unachievable for you as a person, but pretty much everyone that comes into the company that works really hard and has their clear personal set goals, they're all doing it within like the first 6 months. They're all doing it within the first 12 months. They're like achieving silly numbers in terms of their personal earnings, but you're also constantly being rewarded for the work you do, and there's always something planned for you to work towards. So it's very much a company that they'll grow the company around you, as opposed to you having to wait for places. And I can't speak highly enough of the lifestyle. So just things like, if you've got a good working relationship with your manager, because you completely control your day, you can take the day off after today if you need to at short notice. You can start early so that you can go and play football or whatever it is after work. You can start late if you need to do something in the morning. We go to regular five-a-side football tournaments here. They run football after work. There's a pool table and a ping pong table. Like, the lifestyle is absolutely incredible in recruitment. And if you're from, it's a natural transition away from university because there's so many similarities in the way that you work. But if you're from a sporting background as well, and you've got that competitive nature to where you want to be rewarded for being competitive, then I really couldn't speak highly enough of it.
Brilliant. I suppose that kind of sums everything up, Luke, to be fair. So I suppose if this sounds like something of interest, we actually hire on an ongoing basis. So we've got a couple of QR codes on the screen as well. One is to apply to the graduate scheme. Another one is actually a link to our graduate support network group on LinkedIn. So we have a group where we post different, I suppose, opportunities, career tips, not just for ourselves, but skills that you can take in for interviews, application tips, anything like that. So feel free to scan those and join. If anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer those for you now. But if anyone would want to kind of have a follow-up conversation, a little bit more depth with either myself or Luke, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. I believe Lisa will be sharing our contact details as well. So feel free to reach out.
Okay, that's brilliant.